Hey guys, what's going on? Noah here. I wanted to make this video just to show you guys my 10 favorite cards to use in Diamond Dynasty so far this year. We're going to go from 10 to 1. It's going to be hitting and pitching combined, no overall cap or limit at all. So let's just jump right into it with number 10, and that is Monthly Awards Ryan TEPERA. And this card is fun to bring out of my bullpen because he has the cutter two-seam slider east to west combo, which is kind of a throwback from or the difference from a lot of guys in this game, which are north to south. High hit per 9, good control. His stats kind of back up that as well. The slider I feel like is worst pitch, but it's also kind of his best because you can throw it off from the cutter. You got an 88-mile-an-hour cutter, but then an 80 slider, so you can kind of use them to throw off your opponent. And this guy is going to be in a lot of my ranked seasons and events bullpens from here on out. And we're going to stick in the bullpen for number 9 on this list, and that's going to be Silver Anthony Rizzo, which is kind of a weird card to say because I think a lot of people have forgotten about this card, but he's really fun to use because he only throws an 80-mile-an-hour fastball, and his stats kind of back that up with what I've used with him. He hardly strikes anybody out, he doesn't really walk anybody, but he doesn't get blown up either. He allows more hits than innings pitched, but he just has a way of getting out of jams just because he's Anthony Rizzo, and he only throws 80 miles an hour. So I think you can put this guy in your event bullpen, or I mean, if you really want to test it, your ranked seasons bullpen, and he can still be effective for you just because he doesn't throw very hard, and he still is decent per 9, so he's not going to get blown up. So I'd recommend Anthony Rizzo if you're looking for a lefty in the pen who's not necessarily a flamethrower like a Chapman or a Billy Wagner that can throw your opponents off when you're facing them late in the game. Excuse me. So we're going to move on then to left field for number 8, and that's going to be Live Series Jesse Winker. And this card with Inside Edge is pretty insane because he can max out contact, almost max power. So just bring this guy off your bench, as the stats have shown that I have done, and make him hit against righties, because if you have a bat where you know you're going to face a righty and you have to bring a guy off your bench, this is the guy you want to use because he can't hit lefties, he can't really play defense, he can't run. The only thing he can do is hit righties. But what he does the only thing he does very well. So that's a guy you can just throw on your bench, and he can just be your designated pinch hitter against righties. And that's kind of what I've been using him for, and he's been really fun in that regard. So let's move on to number 7, also in the bullpen, also lower rated, and that is Live Series Emilio Pagan. Now this card has pretty good control. The stats don't really show it as much, but his four-seam is a 99 control, as you can see. His cutter's 85. The break isn't too great, but the reason I really like this card is his delivery is super simple and short. His per 9s are pretty good. I really love the cutter four-seam combo. That's pretty much all that I throw. And he's the reliever that's pitched the most innings for me, and he's probably been one of my most effective relievers. I mean, a 2 ERA from a 77 silver against diamond-level hitters and diamond-level cards is pretty insane, and it's one of the reasons why he's stuck in my events bullpens for basically the entire season, because he can still be effective. So with that, we're going to move on to number 6. We're going to center field. It's Jasson Dominguez, Future Stars. And I feel like this card gets overlooked a lot with how many great center fielders there are, because he can pretty much do everything. Switch hitter, hits righties better, which is good. He's a really good defender, 97 speed means he's going to run everything down. He's basically a dollar store Buxton in the outfield. I mean, the vision isn't too great, and I strike out with him a lot usually. I had a terrible start with this card, but now I've really turned it on because he can hit for a lot of power from both sides of the plate. You can even stick him in left or right field. He'll do just fine. But again, I feel like this card is overlooked with how many other great outfielders there are in the game now. But he kind of just does everything really good, which is overlooked these days when there's a ton of cards that can do some things amazing. So center field, Jasson Dominguez. He's number 6 on my list of favorite cards to use this year in MLB The Show 21. Let's go to number 5 then. We're sticking with Live Series. It's Fernando Tatis Jr. at shortstop. This is another card that has kind of contact issues. I strike out with him a ton, but he destroys baseballs when you make contact, and his defense is spectacular with the 97 speed and 99 arm at shortstop. He's going to make all the plays as long as you don't mess it up with his low accuracy. And as the stats are going to show, they're kind of juiced because I used him in the Moonshot event, so a lot of these stats are against common pitching. But still, this guy, even against diamond pitchers, is going to when he squares up a fastball, or even a changeup or a slider and something off speed, it's probably a double or a home run. That's why I like using this card. I stick him at the bottom of my lineup because of the hole with his low vision. Stick him at the bottom of your lineup, get great defense, hit a home run every once in a while. His 97 speed can really wreak havoc on the base pass, especially with the top of your lineup coming up or your pitcher trying to bunt them over and stuff. That's probably a good phrase I hadn't thought of before. He just creates havoc on the base pass and the baseball diamond in general when you have him out there. So highly recommend. And we're gonna go to number 4 now. We're going to the rotation. Carlos Rodon. I don't know what it is about this guy. His pitch mix isn't the best. His per-nines aren't the best. I mean, they're still good, but he's my second favorite pitcher to use, which is semi-spoiler alert, but he's number 2 in terms of pitching. I mean, look at the stats there. He strikes out a ton of guys. 117 in 99 innings is a lot for a pitcher in Diamond Dynasty. And I mostly use the fastball slider changeup combo. His curveball and two-seam I don't really touch too much. But this card, in my opinion, proves that you can be effective without having a cutter or a sinker or any other glitchy pitches that a lot of cards have at the high levels of this game. You can still be super effective with the regular four-seam slider changeup combo. So Carlos Rodon, I highly recommend if you haven't tried him out yet because his pitches kind of turned you off. Just give him a second look because he can really dominate. We're going to number 2 now. Marcus Semien at second base, Player of the Month card from May. His swing is just amazing. Like, his stats are good too, especially the hitting with the 125 versus righties. But his swing is just incredible, and he plays above his stats, which is wild because of how good they are. He's also a reverse splits guy because he has better power versus lefties. So I love sticking this guy in the 3 or 4 hole and, you know, just let him wreak havoc. He is a 455 batting average for me in 160 games. This is not in the Moonshot event. Mostly, I believe I used him for a couple games, but this is mostly against good pitching, which makes it all the more insane to me because I did not expect this card to be this good. But he is basically, he hits doubles and homers. That's basically all he does. And when you have a card that can hit doubles and homers that consistently, you got to have him in your lineup. So Marcus Semien, Player of the Month, super fun card, rakes, highly recommend for your second base spot. And number 2 is tops now 86 overall Ryan McMahon, a guy who came out right away when he hit 3 homers in April. But he is another super glitchy swing. Has not a lot of power now with the power creep later in the year, but he still can hit pretty well. He strikes out a lot and can't hit lefties, so I'd put him in the bottom of your lineup if you're going to have him in a ranked season team today. But he can play a decent third base even with the lower fielding. You can even stick him at first base if you want, but he hits for a lot of power. 19 doubles, 28 homers, 1,000 OPS with this card. He's really fun to use because he's a lower overall, but you can destroy people with him. And that's a part of what makes these cards fun, is when it's not necessarily a meta card that everyone's using, but you can still really rake with them. That really elevates the fun factor of cards in Diamond Dynasty. That's why I'd recommend anybody who has a card that's low overall and is like, well, I don't want to use him because he's not good enough anymore. Just keep using that card, man. You have a lot more fun playing with him than you will with the meta card. That's why I really don't like pitching with DeGrom, excuse me. I've only thrown like 15 innings with, or not even 15 innings, like 2 innings with the Edward Cabrera card, just because they're not fun. The people overuse them too much. So that's why I'd recommend using Ryan McMahon. And last but not least, number 1 is Corbin Burnes, Player of the Month from April. I'm a Brewers fan, so I am slightly biased, but this guy's combo of sinker, cutter, slider is insane, and his control and break is very good too. The per-nines are just very good all around, and he doesn't strike a ton of guys out because he doesn't have a four-seam to blow him away, but he will get a lot of soft contact, and he can go deep into starts too because he has so many pitches that can be placed so many different places that you can really, mess up a guy's timing and stay in the game longer and get your bullpen in later, which can help save you. So Corbin Burnes, Player of the Month, highly recommend. If you aren't using him anymore, give him another shot. So that's my list of top 10 players or cards I have used in Diamond Dynasty so far this season. I hope you enjoyed. I hope these recommendations help you find some more guys to get in your Diamond Dynasty team. And I will see you next time. Hopefully some more DD content coming up very soon. Thank you for watching. Appreciate it.